Hi everyone, and welcome here to my video about this site-to-site connection between Microsoft Azure and our local network, also called a premises site. We will here take a look at the pfSense firewall. That's a freeware Linux distribution. But before we are going ahead, I would like to point out to you that there exists a lot of documentation that can help us through the issues we have to configure this sort of things. And as you see here, I have pointed out some reference. The first two references for the Microsoft Azure portal, how to create a site-to-site VPN. We can take a look at that. And the second thing is it has been more important to me because it tells the technical issues we have about the VPN IPsec tunnel, the things we have to create, and what sort of encryption and algorithm do we have to use. Maybe we should start to take a look at that. I think I have it here somewhere. Nope, this was the Azure. We have it over here. You can see if you start the site here, you can press IPsec parameters, and it will tell us all about what kind of hardware does Microsoft provide help for, and what kind of settings do we have to use. And for the first phase, it shows here the IKE versions, the Diffie-Hellman, authentication, encryption methods, hashing algorithms, and so on. But also for the phase 2, we can see what kind of settings does the Microsoft Azure provide support for. It's not possible to make a lot of different settings for the Azure VPN IPsec tunnel. We have to do it on the on-premises side, where we are using some kind of firewall or another thing to make this tunnel. So take a look of this. Is a very helpful site to provide information about the setting we will use for our VPN. So let's go back to our notes here, because the two other sites I would like to point at is for the documentation for pfSense, the Linux firewall distribution that can help us to tell us how to set up or configure the VPN tunnel for connecting to the Azure sites. So I will put these links into the YouTube notes, so you can find the links inside of there. But what do we have to make in this video? I have tried to point it out here what we want to do, and at the picture as shown here, we have the Azure site. We will manage this with the Azure portal that is built with the resource manager. This is the new portal. There has been we need this E there. There has been the classic one. It's the old one is at one time it will be outdated. So we use the Azure Portal Resource Manager site. For creating this Azure site, I have pointed some steps here to tell what we have to do. First, we have to create our resource for all objects we have to create on the site. After that, we have to create our virtual network, and this virtual network will hold all our virtual machines and so on. For the gateway, we have to create a public address the address that our VPN will use to connect for each other sites. So we have to create that, and after that we have to create the gateway subnet. It's a subnet that the gateway will use between the sites. So we have to tell the subnet and point it to the virtual network so it knows what kind of subnet it have to use there. And finally, or not finally, but one of the big things we have to create is the virtual network gateway. That is our main thing in creating our tunnel between our sites. This will take, after we have created it and accept our settings, it will take about 45 minutes to run this, and yeah, we have to sit and wait, but we can hopefully make some useful thing in between. Last, we will create this local network gateway that also is the site-to-site connection we create here. This connection, here we will make the final steps and joining these two objects together with this connection and the public IP address. So after we are creating a connection here, we want this tunnel to become effective, and we have to do this on our pfSense firewall. I can see I have written a wrong subnet here because I want to use the 10.0.0/16 or maybe the 24 subnet. That doesn't matter. On the Azure side we have used the 10.1 subnet, so we have two different subnets we can use on each site. For the pfSense, we have to, after have initialized all the standard settings, we have 3 steps to create a VPN tunnel. I write it down here. We have to create the phase 1 for the IPsec, and have to set up all the settings we want to use. After that we have to create a phase 2, and finally we have to allow some kind of traffic in our IPsec tunnel defined by this firewall rule. So let's get ahead and try to see how we will do this in our resource manager. But let's go ahead to our portal for the Azure. It's actually quite easy to remember the site. It's portal.azure.com, and as you can see, remember my credentials here. I will continue on. As I mentioned earlier, the first step we will do is to create the resource. I have already chosen my preferred objects that I want to work with, and the resource group is one of the first. So I choose add here, and the resource group define where do I want to place my different kinds of objects. So I give it a name. I want to use North Europe. It always says that because I've used that a lot. A lot of different kinds of places you can choose, but North Europe is pretty good and also cheaper than others. North Europe, let's call it resource group. Yes, let's look fine. Say create. Sometime it will take some time to create this thing. We can see it has already been there. The next thing we have to create is virtual network. If you can't see what the different icons is for, you can press here so you can see the names. virtual network, and let's add one of this. Again, we have to give it a name. Still, I want to say North Europe, Europe, so I can see the difference if I work at other places, but not Europe. And we will call this the virtual network. We have to point out a address space, and beneath this address space we can have different subnets. So I will choose a /16 network. I want to call my subnet in this address space subnet 1, not a half but a 1, and of course this has to be a 10.1, but the 0.0 network /24, that's fine. Let's work with this, and I have to choose my subscription and my resource group. I have created one earlier, as you saw. I will choose that, and it automatically choose the location course to the resource group. So I create our virtual network, and again we have to wait to see when it will finish. And we already have there. So that was our resource group, our network. We can now create a public IP address. I can see it's this one. We need a public address for our connection between the two sites. So our on-premise site have to connect at the Azure public IP address, and the Azure site have to connect on our on-premises, our local network public IP address. So that's pretty normal. So let's create this public address here. We can't see it yet, but we can see it when we have created all the different kind of objects we have to use for the tunnel. But let us give it a name. I want to shorten the North Europe to NE and say gateway 1. It's a public IP 1. We want to give it a dynamic IP address. It will not change every time. It's only if you take it down and put it on a gateway again, a new gateway, it maybe will change, but not if you use the same gateway all the time. You don't have to give it a DNS name. We would use again our subscription and our resource group and say create. And it will pretty soon create this public IP address. Let's see. Yeah, that's great. So one of the important things is also to define the network for our gateway. The gateway subnet that are used for the transit, what shall we say, traffic. We will go back to our virtual network, and you can see here it's our overview that tells us the settings we created earlier. We can see the address space, and we can see is there any devices? No, in there. But under the subnet we defined our subnet 1. But we can this kind of subnet we can create a lot of different subnets if we want to. But it's possible to create only one subnet, a gateway subnet. So let's do it here. It choose one for us, but you can see here its name is grayed out, and it's because the gateway subnet have to have exactly this name for our gateway. So gateway subnet pronounced like this, and we can use this 10.1.1 network because it's free. We uses the 10.1.00 network, but I like to take the the upper network. So I will take this 255 network for our gateway, and it should be okay. I say okay, and now our virtual network have been joined together with this gateway subnet. The next step we want to make is to create the virtual network gateway, one of the important things, and this was one of the objects that takes 45 minutes to create. So again, we will give it a name, North Europe, virtual network, and say gateway 1. What kind of type of gateway do we want to use? VPN, express route. This have to do with some of the with some of the speed types. I know this is 100 megabit, and I think express route can do gigabit. But we want VPN, route base, and we can use the cheapest one is the basic type. Again, we have to choose a virtual network. We only have the one we created earlier. The public address, also we created that earlier. And subscription, resource group is already chosen for us. So let's say create to this, and we have to wait the time it takes to create that, and it's a little hour, or it's 45 minutes. So I will pause the video and come back later to take a look of this gateway. So the virtual network gateway is finished creating, and we can go to the next step. That's where we have to create the local network gateway. And as you see here, we can, it's the green icon here. This is the local network gateway we have to create with a connection that's define the site-to-site VPN IPsec tunnel. But let's start creating this local network. Again, we will give it a name. We can say North Europe and local net gateway GW, and let's give it a 1. Here we have to give the public IP address for our local network on our on-premise sites. Maybe I have it here. Yeah, exactly. We have to give it an address space. It's the subnets for the local network, the internal local networks we have to define here, and that's the 10 network we have to define here. So let's do that, and we can add additional address range if we want to. Again, we have to choose the subscription, the resource group, and so on, and let's start to create this. It will take only a few seconds, and we should then should be possible to create the connection here. If we just give it some time, here it is. We can go down here to the connection, or we can choose it through our local network gateway here. At the overview, we can see the connections down here. It's empty, and we can just add one. Again, give it a name, North Europe. Let's say site-to-site. It's all already defined. We have to choose a virtual network gateway. We only have one that we created earlier. The local network have been chosen, and we have to give it a shared key that we want to use on both sides, on the Azure side, and we have to use this on the the on-premise side. So let's say something like my secret something. What you now want to use here. All the other things are already chosen for us, so let's say OK for this. And actually, after this have been creating, we should be total finished with our creation of the site-to-site tunnel. Let's see if it is finished here, or I still have to give it some few seconds here. Yes, there it was. So we can choose that, and we can see the status here is unknown, and it will only get connected when we create the other side for the tunnel, and we will see that there are some data going in and out of this connection. So we now have to go back. If we take a look at our drawing, now we have to say that we are finished on the Azure side, and now we have to take our focus to the pfSense on our on-premise side. So let's do that. First, we can take a copy of the public IP address here. We have to use it later when we are going on the pfSense firewall and creating it there. So let's take a local machine on our network. I already have opened the website to our pfSense. We just have to enter our credential. Yeah, that's great. Admin, of course. So here we have to go to the VPN and choose the IPsec, and as you can see, the tunnels are empty, and we can now create our first phase, the phase 1, for the IPsec tunnel. And we have different things we have to set here. The exchange version can be set to auto, so it will negotiate the setting. It's of course IP version 4. It's on our WAN interface. The remote gateway is exactly the public IP address on the Azure side. As I took a copy, we can delete it here and use this. So this is our phase 1 VPN to Azure. I've written that before, so let's use that. What shall we use at the authentication method? We can just use it as the mutual PSK. The main thing as negotiation modes. What else do we have? My identifier is my IP address, the IP address of our interface. If maybe we have this firewall behind another firewall and uses NAT, we can maybe choose another thing. The pre-shared key should be the same as on the Azure side. Sure on that. And what kind of encryption algorithm do we have to use here? We will use, what shall we say here? AES 256 bits is okay. It's only use share to, we can use share. Is a H256. The Delphi Hellman group is number 2. the lifetime second should be 10,800, and the rest should be as it says here. Disable key unchecked, responder unchecked. We want to net traversal auto and so on. So yes, everything looks fine here. We said save and can go to add our phase 2. Let's do that. Again, you want not to, it should be enabled, so let it stay there. It is a tunnel IP version 4 LAN subnet. We can write it down and choose the network for the local network, and again it is the 10 network /24 or 16 what we want to use. The next thing we have to, oops, 0 there. We have to choose is the remote network. That is our 10th 100, and it could be a /16 that we want to use here. Give it an description, phase 2 VPN to Azure. What kind of protocol do we want to use is the ESP. The AES is 256 bits. At this time the hash algorithm have to be share 1. It's the only one that is supported. You can let the key group off, but maybe you want to make some try with this in different groups, but we know that this will work for now. So we say save here, again apply, and we should be able to see that both of them are active. And the next thing, because we have actually finished our configure of the VPN tunnel, and now have to set the firewall. And the firewall, yeah, we have to allow the traffic from our Azure network through our IPsec tunnel. So let's do that here. Pass there as the action. The interface is IPsec, address family IP4, and we will let any protocol through this connection. The source, yeah, we can set the source to the Azure network. That is 10.1.0.0/16. Oops. So, and the destination network, yeah, it could be any, or we could define our local network. That is the 10.0 network. Again, /16 or something else. If you want to log, you have to be aware that it can use a lot of resources on our firewall. So again, make a description. It is allowing traffic from Azure site. So save here and apply, and let's try to see the status of our IPsec. Oh, and it's already established. So maybe if we are lucky, we could try to see, do we have a virtual machine on the remote side? Let's try. try to go ahead. I have created one here. It is running, but what is the IP address of this machine? We can see it down here somewhere in the network interfaces. Yeah, so you can see it has the IP address of 10.1.0.4. So let's try to see if we can reach it from our local network. Let's go to the client machine again. Yeah, we could maybe see if it is possible to ping 10.0.4. That should be the client. You can see it isn't allowed yet. Maybe it's because the firewall is denying the ICMP traffic. While this is running, we can see if it is possible to make a remote connection, MSTSC, and here, yeah, we can see we have the address already for our client. And let's see what is the user. Was my user and the password. Yeah, and it seems to work, so let's go there. And it could take a while if it's the first time we are connecting. While this is connecting, let's try to see the. Oh, I actually want to try to see what is the status of the connection. For this, we can see it is connected. There's not any traffic yet. But hopefully we will see it work. And go back to the ping isn't still working, but the remote desktop is clearly working. So yeah, that's great. Let's open up the firewall. One of the easiest way to open the firewall for ping or ICMP is to allow sharing. So we will turn on file and printer sharing. Let's allow the sharing, and it will also open the firewall for ICMP. So let's try to go back. Yeah, see, it's now working. So we actually done it, creating some connection between our two sites, and that was actually the goal that we have to finish. So that was that, and we can now see there's some data that's coming in and out of our VPN connection. Great. Oh, what's happened here? Actually, we also were finishing the pfSense VPN IPsec tunnel creation. So now everything is fine and it works in both directions. We could remote to the local server that we have created. So thank you for being with me here. My name is Jesper Black, and hopefully we will see you another time in another video.